Hey guys, Michael here. Hope everything is going as good as possible in your worlds. Today, we are pushing on. We are moving on to our next topic. Corporate level strategy. Corporate level strategy is, as you might have guessed, it's the examination of strategy for an entire corporation. So far, we've been making a simplifying assumption, whether we state it or not, that we're only in one business. And, how should we position our product in this one particular business? But now we're kind of relaxing that assumption. We're saying, okay, most corporations are in more than one business. So the buzzword for today is diversification. Is diversification good? Is diversification bad? When should companies diversify? How much should they diversify? If they do diversify, what sort of other industries should they diversify into? These are all of the exciting questions that we're going to examine in today's topic. So as usual, sit back. Well, no, don't sit back. You might get too comfortable. Sit on the edge of your seat. Pay attention. Whip out your notebook and your pen. Take notes. Let me know if you have any questions. I'll see you back here on the flip side. So today we're going to talk about corporate level strategy. Corporate level strategy is different from business level strategy. In fact, I'd like for you to stop now. There's a video posted on As You Learn called The Difference Between Corporate Level and Business Level Strategies. Stop just a moment and look at that and then come back here. Okay, so far we've kind of made the assumption that our company that we're developing strategies for is only in one business, only producing one product, only in one industry. And so that's made our job easier. But the fact is that many companies are in more than one business. And so that's what we're going to look at today. The buzzword for this week, you might say, is diversification. And let me just ask you a question. Just think about this for a moment. Is diversification strategy good? Yeah, how many of you said yes? How many of you said no? Well, it can be, right? It can be. We're going to talk about when and how diversification strategy can be good in this particular topic. By diversification strategy, we mean, should we be in more than one industry? If so, when should we be in more than one industry? And what other industries should we be in? So that's today's topic. So what are some possible benefits to having diversification? Is diversification ever bad? Bad diversification. And why might it be bad? Diversification. Most companies have some sort of diversification strategy. I mean, if we're managers of corporations, we can say, hey, should we be in more than one industry? If so, which other industries should we be in, right? We can pull that lever. So product diversification concerns the scope of the industries and markets in which the firm competes and how managers buy, create, and sell businesses to match skills and strengths with opportunities presented to the firm. So we're going to be dealing with core competence again. We're going to say our core competence plays a role in determining whether we should diversify and what industries we might diversify in. So just like the little video you watched pointed out, there are two levels of strategy. This one we've already talked about. We spent all of last topic talking about Michael Porter's generic business level strategies. And we talked about low cost differentiation, focused low cost, focused differentiation. We talked about integrated, which is not up here, but we talked about it and sometimes we stuck in the middle. And so we talked about that. Corporate level strategy is how we create value for the entire corporation. Another buzzword for this particular topic is synergy. Synergy is one of those words that gets overly used. What is synergy? Well, we'll come to that in just a minute. I don't want to jump ahead of myself. I don't want to give away all the secrets. So, yeah, just like all of our strategies, the purpose of corporate level strategy is to make more profits, right? Make more better performance of the corporation. So corporate level strategies specifies action a firm takes to gain competitive advantage by choosing and managing firms in different product markets, different industries. Purpose is to have competitive advantage or above average returns, and the value is ultimately determined by the degree to which the businesses in the portfolio are worth more under the management of the company than they would be under anything else. In other words, this thing that we've created, this mix of businesses, this diversification strategy, is it creating value or is it not creating value? And most people don't understand diversification, corporate diversification, why firms diversify. This is because whenever we hear diversity, what do you think of? When I say you should diversify, what do you think of? Yeah, you're thinking about your investments, right? I know we have some finance and accounting majors in here that examine investment portfolios and talk about investment behavior. And the finance and accounting people will tell us time and time again that we're better off to diversify, right? And they can even, if you press them on that, they can even come up with a mathematical proof to show you the logic behind why why an investor should diversify his investment portfolio. For example, I'm getting close to retirement age. As I get closer to retirement age, I pay closer attention to my investments, and I diversify. Unless you have, the only caveat might be if you have some inside information. You have some special information, then perhaps you should not diversify. There might be some special occasions. But if we believe in market efficiency and believe that the information as soon as it hits the market is fully dissipated throughout the market, then it makes sense to diversify. And so I diversify. It's easy to diversify this day and age. We can buy mutual funds. We can buy ETFs. We can buy different things. And this is okay. But if I'm running a company, it's different. If I'm running the company, I can't just be all over the map. I have to make my investments in different industries make sense. They have to somehow create synergy. I don't have to do that as an individual investor, but as a corporate level manager, when I'm diversifying in different industries, I've got to make sure that I create synergies. I have to know something about these. And so if I don't know anything about these different industries and they're not related to what I'm already doing, then I can get in trouble. So the key questions with corporate level strategy. What's the degree to which the businesses in the portfolio are worth more? These are our business units. This is our diversification strategy. We might say that we're in these 4 different units. So are these worth more? Question number 1. Are we creating synergies? Right? If we're not creating synergies, we shouldn't do it. It's as simple as that. What businesses should we be in? Which ones are going to give us the greatest synergies? Is the second question. And finally, how do we manage these businesses so that we maximize the synergy that we're gaining? All right, so those are the questions of corporate level strategy. We have measures of diversification. Diversification is something that gets measured a lot because it can be measured. We have 3 different levels of diversification, and within that we have 5 different, what we're going to call diversification strategies, all right, or types. Low levels of diversification means that we are not very diversified. High levels of diversification mean that we're extremely diversified. Somewhere in the middle, we've got related constrained and related linked. These are medium levels of diversification. All right. So if we say low levels of diversification, we might be talking about a single business. That means that more than 95% of the revenue of the business comes from a single industry. We might be talking about dominant business. Dominant business, between 70% and 95% of revenue comes from a single business, but they have other businesses or they're in other industries. So A is we could call that our primary industry. In this case, we only have A. In this case, we got A and B, but A is still the big dog here, right? At least 70% of our revenue is coming from A. So we call that a dominant business. These are considered to be low levels of diversification. We jump down to the other extreme. Unrelated diversification is very high levels of diversification. Here we got A and B and C, and there are no links. The missing little lines here means that there are no synergies. They're just, each one's operating completely independently. So less than 70% of our revenue is coming from the dominant business, and there are no common links between those businesses. In the middle, we've got two here. We've got related constrained and related linked. Related constrained, less than 70% of revenue is coming from our dominant business, and all the businesses share some sort of product, technological, and distribution linkages. A to B, B to C, C to A. Related linked, very similar, slight difference here. Notice this is a mix of related and unrelated. We've got less than 70% of revenue coming from our dominant businesses, and we've got only limited links between the businesses. So in this graphical example, we've got A is related to B, and B is related to C, but C is not related to A. So this is related linked. So now I'm talking about high diversification, low diversification, or medium diversification. You know what I'm talking about here. So, again, this is not difficult to understand, I hope. The objective of diversification is to improve overall corporate performance. If our corporate level strategy improves our corporate performance, it's good, it's effective, it's beneficial. If it does not achieve this improvement in performance, then it's bad, it's ineffective. It can even be potentially harmful to performance. We're going to talk about just a moment that there are many cases of companies that got broken up because of poor diversification strategy. To put it differently, the whole has to be greater than the sum of the parts. There's that idea again, synergy. So why do firms diversify? Good question. What's the different types of synergies? Well, maybe related. We're going to talk about something called economies of scope, something called sharing activities, something called transferring core competencies, market power, and vertical integration. With financial unrelated diversification, there can still be some incentives, there can still be some benefits, maybe efficient internal capital allocation, as well as business restructuring. So, let's talk about these one at a time. Economies of scope. We know what economies of scale are, right? Economies of scale say that as you get larger, you get more efficient. That is bigger and bigger at producing just one thing. If we produce widgets, as we get more and more and more and more of those, we become more efficient. Our cost curve goes down. Economies of scope is similar, but slightly different. Economies of scope says that as we produce more and more similar things, we might be able to share some activities and gain some synergies. So we're able to produce more by producing a bigger breadth of similar products. Okay? Sharing activities. Well, if we have a manufacturing company, then we might be able to use our assembly line to produce one thing one day, and then maybe have another part of the week that we're producing something else. If we're selling something online, well, we can use our same website, we can use other things, we can use our distribution channels, our logistics services, so that we can sell different things. So sharing activities is a type of synergy from related diversification. Transferring core competencies. Well, we might be really, really good at, for example, marketing a product, or we might be really, really good at improving process in one industry. We might be able to transfer that marketing or improvement in process to another industry and be able to improve it as well. We may be able to take our core competence from one industry and transfer it to another industry. Next one is market power. Market power is a little bit different. Market power has to do with the selling side of the product. These first three, economies of scope, sharing activities, transferring of core competencies, have to do with the production side. These mean that as we're producing a broader range of stuff, we might be able to create economies of scope, share activities, and transfer core competencies so that we can produce our product more efficiently. On the other hand, we might be able to use market power on the selling side. For example, if we have a brand name that's very well recognized in one industry, we might be able to use that brand name to get a higher price for a product in a different industry, even though we have no connection with the production whatsoever. We see, I think Coleman is really, at this point, has just become a branding company. They slap their brand name on anything, right? You can get Coleman lanterns is what they're famous for, but you could get tents. I've even seen Coleman camping trailers. I've seen Coleman motorcycles. Of course, they make coolers and all of this stuff. Well, what they're doing is they're using their brand name capital, Coleman, to spread it out, and they're able to get more. They find a company, they do a quality check. They're not producing all of this themselves. There's no way. They're just letting people use their brand name, the Coleman brand name, on the market side to get more profits. Okay? That has to do with the selling side as opposed to the production side. Vertical integration, if we buy our own supplier or if we buy a distributor, that might give us some more efficiencies. Okay? All of these are related diversification. And then we have unrelated diversification. Related diversification, even though we're not related, doesn't mean we can't get some sort of benefit. It may not be synergies, but it could be something else. For example, if we're in lots of different industries, well, if they're on different business cycles, we might be able to use this to help us smooth earnings throughout the year or throughout the business cycle. If one industry happens to be capital intensive and another is not, maybe it's more of a cash cow, we can use the cash spun off from this business to fund another type of business and capital. So it might be capital allocation or maybe business restructuring. And then of course there's always just the fact that you're putting your eggs in more than one basket helps to reduce your exogenous shocks to any particular industry. And then finally, we've got this last one. Sometimes some people believe that mergers may take place for selfish reasons. Managers' selfish reasons. There's an argument that managers may wish to diversify away their employment risk, or that managers may wish to increase their compensation. Studies show that managers of large companies earn more than do managers of well-run small companies. So some people have hypothesized that as a manager, I've got incentive. There's a moral hazard there. It's in my own benefits to keep growing my company and adding different things to it, because I can say, look at how busy I am. I deserve higher pay, even though I'm doing a bad job of managing them. So this is this one. And diversifying away managerial employment risk. Well, again, as a manager, I only have one job. I can't really diversify away my employment risk by being a manager for lots of different companies. The only way I can do that is if I manage a different mix of companies. So, as I mentioned earlier, modern view of corporate level strategy relies heavily on this idea of synergy. And of course, synergy is easier if it's done with related diversification as opposed to unrelated diversification. So the idea is that firms create value by building upon or extending their resources, capabilities, and core competencies. So given that, we're going to talk about economies of scope. We're going to talk about two types of economies of scope. First one we're going to call operational relatedness, and the second one we're going to call corporate relatedness. Okay? So operational relatedness means physical stuff. Think about operations. Operations are pretty much going to be physical, right? Might be activities such as inventory delivery systems or a support activity such as purchasing. These are different types of operational relatedness. Maybe sharing an assembly line so that we're able to reconfigure it, and one day we're able to produce plastic pens, and the next day we're able to produce maybe casings for laser pointers. So that would be an example of operational relatedness. Corporate relatedness is more cognitive. It's more using the ideas at the corporate office so that we're able to create synergies across the different industries that we're in. So, yeah, the full definition, the textbook definition, remember this is more cognitive, using complex sets of resources and capabilities to link different businesses through managerial and technological knowledge, experience, and expertise. And then we have market power. Market power is two types of market power. Multi-point competition. Two or more diversified firms are simultaneously compete in same product markets or geographic markets. And vertical integration can be either backward or forward. Okay, that's what we're going to do for today. But before you go, I would like for you to take just a moment and watch this video on these guys are experts in this particular field, and this is their definition of what's good corporate level strategy. You'll see that it echoes a lot of the themes that we just got through talking about. All right then, so that's all we're going to do for today. We will pick up with this topic next time when we're talking about corporate level strategy part 2. Until then, this is Michael saying study hard.